Sports and also Jay's Unfair Sports as well, folks. So, folks, we got a busy hour packed, schedule here today, man. We are going to talk about a lot in the SEC. Texas and Michigan happened. That was a very interesting game. We're going to talk about Alabama and OU. Should they be worried with the performances that they put on? And also, who are the fraudulent teams here in the SEC here, just over these first couple weeks and going into week 3? But fellas, man, what's going on?
Nino, what's up, man? What's
Hey,
up,
man,
Chris?
feeling
Not
good.
much, man. Not much. Just ready to talk some ball.
Let's talk some ball
Hey,
then,
I may
man.
I may have to I may have to drop off and come right back. Like things kind of seem choppy, so let me yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll wait till Chris comes back because I want to talk about this Texas and OU. I think that's why Chris dropped off. He don't want to talk about it right now, but we know what's happened with that Texas and
You
OU.
know, attendance. It's funny how attendance is a little light this week. After
after a
everybody
couple
was
bad
here,
performances.
I know life happens. I know things. Hey,
Here
Chris.
he is. Chris back. Chris back. Hey, Chris, we're gonna start off, man, with this Texas Michigan game, man. And
Yeah.
since you are the non-Texas person, I want to get your honest opinion and feedback on the Texas versus Michigan game when Texas went up there and won that damn thing 31-12 in the big house against the defending national champions. What you got to say about that, Big Chris? What a K.
Well, I mean, first off, I would just say this: Michigan is definitely not the team that we all were hoping that they would be. This was not the matchup that we were hoping that it would be. But I mean, in all honesty, good stuff, man. Good shit. Like, I mean, Texas went up there and they did what good teams should do, which is beat bad teams. And they went up there and they handled business and they look pretty good, damn good doing it. I'll give you guys that. Helm looks like he is. I thought Night Black was going to be the guy for you guys at tight end, but it looks like Helm has taken a leap. Quinn has really good pocket presence or whatnot. It was kind of one of those games where you were just sitting there looking at Michigan like, hey, offensively, y'all got to do something simply because defense can only hold up for so long and try to keep this, from being what it was, right? So, I mean, honestly, can't really knock the performance. You guys went up there and did what you need to do. I'll be mature about it today and just give you guys hey, good job, man. Y'all want to do what you needed to do.
Steven, how about you, man?
I respect everything I heard from Brother Chris, and I agree with a lot of his analysis there. Right? I mean, this is we're the SEC Connect, so we're talking about things from the SEC perspective. I can't speak on what Michigan is or isn't. I know what we went up there and did from an execution standpoint. I know how difficult it is to play on a road in that environment in a building which they had won 23 straight home games, 34 straight regular season games, and a Michigan defense that has several guys who will be Sunday players. Mason Graham, who's an All American, Will
Mm-hmm.
Johnson, who's an All American first round pick type player, Savion, or Stewart or Josiah Stewart and all those guys. I mean, there's still a lot of really good football players over there. I think they still will have a pretty solid season in the Big Ten, but Texas from where Sark is building this program and taking us in the SEC, things are going according to plan. Last year, 12-2, finishing with the Big 12 championship, mission accomplished, getting out of the conference in that regard. The recruiting aspect, I touched on this just now. We just had a stream on Bleacher Report an hour ago. Look at all of the guys that contributed in Saturday's game. Some of the big time players, right? Colin Simmons had the highest grade of a Texas player that played, according to Pro Football Focus. Anthony Hill, just those two alone. I tweeted this earlier this week about envisioning a defense in which Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons are out here pursuing opposing quarterbacks. Well, that dream is now a reality, Nino.
Mm-hmm.
The Ryan Wingos of the world, right? The Jared Gibsons of the world. Young guys that are already contributing. Malik Muhammad, Derek Williams. These are all guys that were making plays or were a huge part of the game plan. Trey Wisner, from those 2023, 2024 classes, a lot of them DFW South Dallas kids that are freaking winners. And this is where you guys have really dominated that Dallas Fort Worth area for the last 20 something years. It is talent rich here, and you guys are still getting players. Don't get it twisted, but this is where we've starting to make our strides, where a lot of these players probably would have gone to either OU or Ohio State in the past. Let's just be honest. I saw J.K. Dobbins on Pat McAfee's show the other day, and he commented on Texas. And he basically, without saying it, said, this type of Texas wasn't available when I came out of high school. That wasn't an option for me versus what it is now and what it's becoming. And the future's bright, I think, from what we saw on display from a lot of those young guys. There's going to be a lot of conversation about Quinn and the big time guys, and it's deservedly so. But I'm really, really happy about my young boys and just the temperament that they had on the road. That meant a lot to me.
Yeah, so talking about the young ones, right? I don't think we've ever been able to talk about this in probably the past 10 years, Stephen, which is kind of crazy to say. I want to say this is that Sark is building the depth on the team, and we're starting to see that even when, if Quinn goes out for a game or two, Texas isn't going to fall off a cliff because you got somebody behind them who's probably just as good, right? You got guys like Bond and Golden and more. If those guys had to miss a couple games, we saw what Ryan Wingo was able to do in a big time, game here against Michigan. You already know what Silas Bowden can do to as well. He did it, just last year. I think he had about 750 yards last year. So you got him. You got a Jonte Cook also there, man. So you got 2 5-stars and a really good transfer as well. If Gunnar Helm goes out, people, even Chris was saying, he thought Knobloch was going to be the guy. I mean, he's just kind of waiting just to learn the playbook all the way through, right? So the depth on this team is something that I think has been lacking a lot over the past years, and now we're starting to see it. Sark is very comfortable. We used to joke about Sark only going to play like 3, maybe 4 wide receivers, really 3, right? Sark's, over these last 2 games, has played about 7 each game. And in pivotal moments, not during blowout sessions. Like he was literally playing a Ryan Wingo and a Silas Bowden and a Jonte Cook throughout the entire game, right? So that was 6 deep at the wide receiver position, and so it's Sark trusts the guys that are on his team right now, and it's just good to see that Texas does have this depth right now. But defensive side of the ball too. I thought Texas might have taken a step back this year, with losing, Sweat and Murphy. They look damn good. Now, mind you, Michigan's not the same Michigan as last year. I will say that. But hey, I say that. But this was the same thing that was said about Alabama last year when Texas went up to Tuscaloosa and won, and all Alabama did was go win the rest of their games and win the SEC championship, right? I remember the same conversation last year that Alabama, it's not the Alabama, this team sucks. We got to bench our quarterback. And
but they don't have a Jalen Milroe up there. We thought that's what Orgy was going to be, and that's not even a slight Texas. I'm just saying I don't think that this Michigan team is going to be I don't know if they win.
I agree with you, Chris. They have a problem. They have a quarterback.
They got a problem. They got a quarterback problem.
I'm trying to be as respectful as possible. I'm just saying,
No, you're right.
I get the correlation between last year, but that Bama team was even at that point in time with Milroe's progression or in the Milroe journey that we're on right now. That team was still way better than what this Michigan team is now because I think Orgy is disappointing a lot of people, and I hope the kid pulls through, whatever case may be, doesn't have any mental health issues or anything like that down the road, because it's crazy. It's on full-blown national television what's going on. But I mean that this is Sharon Moore. I saw a tweet the other day, and it was the dude, whoever tweeted it was great. How the hell did Michigan not go and get another quarterback in that room? At least somebody, a tier 2 guy or something. Why didn't they go and get somebody in the portal? That's crazy.
They should have known during spring ball. You would have thought. I mean, that's a miss on their part. That's a miss on their athletic department. But Chris, I'm gonna say this in
Yeah.
regards to Texas. Were we tested by good quarterback play? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not even gonna. I have
Yeah.
eyes, and we have eyes. We're not liars. They were terrible. Okay. I would argue that Braden Fowler Nicolosi is better than what we saw in week one, is better than what we saw in week two,
Yeah.
in all honesty. But what I will say is, to Nino's point, I do think that this Texas defense on the back end, with what they got with Andrew Makuba,
Yes.
the experience and the communication, and just Johnny Nansen being there, I do think that they will show better when they play those top better tier quarterbacks. One more point I want to make real quick, and this is something I also brought up on Bleacher Report. Texas lost 2 football games last year, and they lost to 2 quarterbacks that played out of their minds. Dylan Gabriel in y'all's game, who didn't just beat us with his arm, but beat us with his legs, and Michael Penix, who played out of his mind.
He had the game of his life.
To me, that's what it's going to require to beat Texas at this point. I'm dead serious. If you don't have a quarterback that is on or has those capabilities, you don't really have a shot. At least somebody that has the ability to do that, right? I'm not saying that they got to be a world beater, but they have those abilities.
Yeah.
There's teams on our schedule that do not have that personnel. Michigan didn't have that personnel. They won't have a chance against our speed, athleticism, and all that to overcome. That's the only way you can overcome something like that, is a quarterback playing out of his mind.
I mean,
So you look at the schedule.
You're right.
Carson Beck, right? Like who's that guy that's gonna
challenge
really
him.
throw those fits and challenge them?
Now I just want y'all to be cautious, okay, and to take this one game at a time, because we all know
Sure
you can look damn good against some of these teams. Don't get into that Nash era of going in and saying that Georgia's the only competition on the thing. Like, even though that's a troll, that's still stupid. At the end of the day, y'all went up there, y'all handled business, and y'all look damn good doing it. So there's no pats on the back for that. That's what you're supposed to do. Y'all went up there and beat a team on national television, a team that people thought should have been ranked, obviously, in the preseason in the top 10 or whatnot. And guess what you did? You exposed them. So, I mean, I can't really get on here today and crap on Texas or really say anything bad about Texas per se, because, I mean, that was a great performance. I mean, you went up there and you did what you needed to do.
I agree.
Well, we won't really be tested again, most likely, until we play
you guys.
What? You guys. Yeah, because we'll have a bye after Mississippi State. Mississippi State just lost
that's
to Arizona
be,
State.
Yeah,
and,
but look, how do I want to say this? Levy's a decent coordinator. I don't say decent. Levy's a good coordinator, man.
He beat us last year.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Levy's a good coordinator, but he doesn't have the same talent that he has, last year. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I don't want to overlook anybody in the SEC because
his quarterback is shaping. I'm sorry.
But look, man. I don't want to, honestly, I don't want to overlook anybody in the conference, because you can't. That's how you get upset, right? And
Absolutely.
we saw some teams who did get upset in the first week, or had the opportunity to get upset, but barely put it out. We've seen it happen over the first 2 weeks, but that doesn't mean that you're a bad team. It just means teams also have good players also, man. So as good as Texas has players, so do other teams. They might not have the depth, but they have good players too. They have a D1 scholarship for a reason. You know what I'm saying? So, Chris, go ahead.
I'll go ahead. Oh no, you're cool. I was just gonna say, it seems like everybody wants to get to the obvious. They wanna talk about OU. So
we'll talk about them in just a second. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I wanted to make one last Texas point too.
Yeah,
and we can move, because I do want to talk about OU as well.
Yeah.
The last Texas point I wanted to make, I agree, Mississippi State is the first SEC game. We got to be focused. Yeah. To me, the next 2 weeks for Texas, it's health is wealth against UTSA and ULM. Health is wealth, and getting young guys reps.
Get your youngest reps.
Those are the 2 things you're looking to accomplish, right? But from a standpoint of, the only other mental thing I'm saying, from a standpoint of why I think Texas should be able to get by and not getting upset or anything like that, is they have, because they're coming off of a year where they were already in the playoffs, they are at least accustomed to being successful week over week. Like that Kool-Aid could have seeped in many times last season. So because that culture is being, this isn't like our first year where we're good now. This is now the second year. You know, the last 2 years under Sark, they're 14-2 now over the last 16 games, right? So that in an NFL season, you're probably a number one seed, right, at 14-2. So the focus wise, I do think Texas will be okay, but the next big test is OU off of the bye week, in my opinion, assuming that they handle their business.
Which is a perfect
the rest of the
segue into
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
To
let's
you
talk
guys.
about OU.
into this right here. Now, Stephen, Nick, please, okay? I'm not trying to get into any arguments with you guys. It seems like we started this off on a good note.
We didn't even ask the question yet.
It took Stephen a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds to really get into what he was saying. 'Cause I think he was shocked that I gave a compliment to Texas. So I would just say, Stephen, I'm growing as a person.
Look at you, grown ass man.
But I just want to say this right here to your fans or to the Texas people in here, Texas fans, please, Dave Bumgarner, right, and all these other people. I will say this right here. We were in this exact same position last year, and y'all was sipping that Kool-Aid in Alpha, Alabama, and off of this right here, and then you came to the Red River and you got hit in the mouth. So
you're right.
Let's pump the brakes before we go on and say, oh, yeah, this Texas team is going to do this and do that, whatever the case may be. Y'all want a Big 12 championship, I'll give you that. But when it came down to it, playing us imano, I think we got bragging rights, so I'm going to give y'all one more chance to shut the hell up, because I'm not going to talk stuff to somebody who beat me, but if you want to do that, you go ahead. Anyways, about OU, so we could just get to this. So, guys, what it really boils down, in my opinion, I probably differ from Jay on this, piss poor execution. Over the two ball games that we've called, you could call it vanilla, you could say whatever you want to say, because it's right here, right? I think that Littrell has called a good game over these last two games. It's just bad execution by Jackson Norman. What he's seeing is not what everybody else is seeing. He has guys that are open where he can take the underneath. He can work the field to open the field up. Running game, we've just basically been running a lot of the same plays with different variations off of it as far as just inside run. It hasn't necessarily been there. I don't want to necessarily rely on the excuse of availability for some of our guys, but I mean, you've seen some of the injuries. It kind of reminds me of that year where you guys took LSU to the brink of death, but you remember Herman having those quote unquote death camps, basically, to
where we lost half our team
by
mid-season.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things where I want to judge this team whenever we have some of our ones back, or at least get Anderson back, get Hickman back, get guys like that, getting some continuity on the offensive line. We had offensive line was an issue the first game, second game it wasn't. Pass pro, a lot of different things. They graded decently, and they played good enough, especially against Houston, where you could have blew that team out. The problem really, to me, is not necessarily anything on the defense. I think defensively you're fine. Still would like to see a pass rush on the edge, like a true pass rush on the edge. Defensively, I think you're going to be fine. I think you're as advertised on defense. Offensively, even if you're playing your ones, twos, threes, fours, whatever the case may be, you should go out there and be a good team and beat bad teams, which Temple and not Tulane, but Temple and Houston are. But I mean, in my opinion, y'all know I sing his praises, Jackson Norman, but in my opinion, my earnest opinion, I think it does fall on him, because I when I go back and watch the film and I go back and watch the games as well all the way through, I'm saying, hey, this guy's open, that guy's open. Littrell is calling a good game. Guys are open. You're not seeing it. You're not working the field. You're locking on. You're staring. Your pocket presence isn't good. You're stepping up in the pocket, but you're stepping towards defenders. You're not. It's just a bunch of. I think technically he's not technically sound right now. And I'll just throw out what Jay has been saying on his platforms. Jay has been saying, hey, he's not throwing guys open. He's waiting until they get open, and you know that that's a no-no, especially
Yeah.
at this level in P5 ball, especially in the SEC. You can't do that. The elite quarterbacks throw their guys open. They can improvise. They can keep the play alive. They can do different things like that. And I'm just going to be real. Jackson Darnold has not done that yet. Do I think things can get better? Yes, I do. I think it can't get any worse than what it's been because we've looked just about as bad as an Iowa offense, but hell, Iowa is scoring points right now. So I think you correct things against Tulane. I like this Tulane that's coming in here. I'm sure that everybody is saying they're confident and they can beat us, but at the end of the day, I think that our defense, we're playing at home. Our defense is damn good. And I think Jackson Arnold is going to clean some things up. So I'm eager to see what we see at on 2:30 this Saturday. But I think some fans gotta relax and get this team a chance to get healthy and play ball. But right now it's doom and gloom around here, as you guys already know. So that's just kind of my spiel. I'll let you guys go and I'll respond.
Hey, Chris, this is a good question here, from Nick V. He says, serious question. What are y'all's thoughts on Murray as a running back coach?
The running back room is bipolar. I feel like right now, I'm not sure what they're doing with Sawchuk. I think they're this is the thing that kind of bugs me about all of this. And this is a good question. I'll give him that. Nick V, I'll give him that. To answer your question directly, I think DeMarco can do a better job with the rotation because we have a really talented running back room. But also, I think that Nick and other, especially OU fans, need to understand if you've been reading the tea leaves, you've been reading the notes and all the rest of that stuff from all the insiders, not just the ones on YouTube, but the one that's also in there and got an ear to the streets as well for a word. This has been the plan all along for these first two games. This has been the plan all along, all the way leading up to Tennessee, for guys to be held out, for guys to take this or take that. This has kind of been the plan. Nobody is stuck with that plan. We want to see dominance and all the rest of that stuff, and I get that, but they've told you what they were going to be doing this entire time. What DeMarco's kind of love-hate relationship for me, because at times he hasn't recruited the greatest, at times he has. At times he's had guys that went out there like Eric Gray, who had amazing years, Kennedy Brooks, those guys, all the way leading up till now, and he has all this talent. To me, I think you got to see Tatum more, but that's just my spiel.
Yeah, so my thing about that too, Chris, is, I go back and look at, Houston played, who's it, Las Vegas, what was it, 2 weeks ago?
UNLV.
Brennan Marion.
Yeah, man, Brennan Marion with the go-go offense, and they ran for almost 200 yards rushing, at a clip of 4.5 yards per carry on them. They actually won the game 27-7. And, OU definitely has more talent. And I know it's scheme-based too, because the go-go offense is crazy. I mean, it's a very difficult offense to defend. But you would think with beating Bo at the coach, right, coaching just a straight O-line, right, you would think that O-line would be, strong enough, for that team not just to have 75 yards rushing, for OU. That's unheard of for me, right? Like, I'm a Texas fan, that I'm a grad, and I've OU's our rival, and so of course we keep up with OU too as well. But OU's always brought in a very physical offensive line that has been able to run the ball, and especially against lesser talent. And it just didn't seem like that was the case against Houston.
Steven?
So I want to ask the Jackson Arnold thing, right? Like, typically with a young guy, you'll have they lean on the run game, kind of lean on the defense, and let them acquiesce into things. And it just seems as though it was kind of hand the keys off and go. And there's a lot of this pressure because of the quarterback play that OU has had the last, 15, 20 years, that he's just going to keep it running, right? Like Caleb, like Spencer Rattler the first year, like all these other guys that were really good early at OU. And not to say that he's statistically bad. His touchdown interception ratio is okay, but like you said, they're not finishing drives, they're not executing. I also want to make it clear too, like your point about vanilla offense is all that means, folks, is your base offense, right? You still want, if we're vanilla, you still want them to execute the base stuff. The base stuff is what we do every day, right? Like that's the core of our offense. I would like that to know that you have a greater understanding of where to go with the football, regardless of personnel that's in the game.
Yeah,
So that's concerning. But Chris, you mentioned it. The injuries in the wide receiver room is a problem for you guys.
It
I
is.
mean,
big problem.
that's a lot of guys. That's a problem. I mean, it's the Jaden Gibson thing. You know, it's like okay, we could overcome this. Then Farouk, what breaks his foot in the
Yeah.
first game? You know, like those are that's a guy that was your second leading receiver last year. It's
Yeah.
a lot of production.
I,
That's a lot
now,
of trust. You know where he's going to be.
now Steven, now I'll answer these kind of in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
First off, Steven, one thing I will say about the offense is, and I get what you're saying, that's a good point. But you got to understand, gotta go watch that. Gotta go watch some of those Latrell offenses in the past. I've been saying to a lot of people, go watch that film on North Texas, North Carolina, those offenses or whatnot. Like Latrell is calling a good game. Like I said, it's just execution wise. Whatever's the disconnect between Arnold and especially in that Temple game, there were a couple of times. I mean, obviously it's Temple, but there were 4 passes that were drops. Right. Second game, just some disconnect. Is just like what's going on. I do think Jackson Arnold's going to be better. I think he will get better, but it's one of those things where it's kind of like a thin line between love and hate, right? Like you gotta understand that on one end, you gotta understand that the guy is what a true, basically a true sophomore, if you want to call him that, or just a
Yeah.
sophomore who's making his third start. But on the other end, you want to say, hey, you guys, regardless if you have 2s or 3s or whatever out there, you should still be dominant. Same thing that goes to your question, Nick, about the running game.
Mhm.
Not necessarily sure, but I think that you'll see a lot of that unpacked. I don't know why it doesn't seem like we can really run this base offense or whatever the case may be, but I think that Tulane competing the way they did and then the way that you're playing now, pissed off OU team is the best team that I want to, is the only team that I want to see. And I think that coupling those two things up with the fact that, hey, you know that you're going to have to play a really good game to beat this team, which you should. And you know that you're going to, you know what's happened these past 2 weeks and what all the talk is. I think that you see, you come out there and really start fast, start early, and get off to the races with this game and get this knocked out. So the focus can be on that night game against Tennessee. But no, I would just say, I mean, everything that you guys have said is valid. I mean, it's not anything that I can say except for, I mean, hey, we're 2-0. Maybe not the way that we want to be, but we're 2-0, still in the hunt for everything that we want to be in the hunt for. But things have to be better, and you're hoping that when Nick Anderson comes back, and you can get some of those younger guys that we recruited, the Kearneys, the Carry-Ons, guys like that. You're hoping that some of these young guys, Jaquez Petaway, will step up and can be those true number 3s to where when you know what it's looking like right now is that you got 3 slot guys out there playing your outside positions, and you have Burks where you want him in the slot. But I mean, I think we all are fond of Brendan Thompson in some way, some more than others. I like Brendan Thompson as a wide receiver, but he's my stretch guy. He's my change of the pace wide receiver. When he comes out there, you know that you're about to go to a freaking triathlon because it's about to get real. You know what I'm saying? Like you're gonna have to run. But I don't necessarily like him being my number 2 right now, but it is what it is, and it's been good enough to at least help Jackson during this period.
That's cool.
Deion Burks had 9 catches for 53. He's 53 yards, 6 yards per catch. 15 catches on the season, 89 yards. So they got to get stuff developing downfield and vertical.
Yeah, and that's what that offense wants to do. They want to get vertical. They want to be aggressive down the field. But I mean, it's Jackson and some of these younger wide receivers. I mean, older but kind of young, if you want to call it that. Hester was the talk of camp pretty much, and another 6'3", 6'4" wide receiver that just has not gotten it done on the field. And against Houston, didn't even really see the field. So kind of leaves something to the imagination of just what would this look like if you actually had your guys. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But another key to it as well is Andrell Anthony. He's back. He is actually back, but they've been holding him out, basically waiting for the Tennessee game as well before they show out with him. Which I think that once he comes back, once Nick Anderson gets back, or once they're all on the field, I think you'll be fine. And if Jake Taylor is back at right tackle, I think you may see EPL Eddie Pierre-Louis at some point. I think you're definitely going to see a shuffle. Remember, on this offensive line, guys, everybody out there, I'm not the biggest fan of this philosophy, but Beatonbow loves to say it's not the best five, the most talented five. It's the best five that play together on the line. So when Hickman comes back, Jay Taylor comes back, I think that you see things get better for this offense. I think it's only up from here. But like Frightening Truth said, shout out to Frightening Truth. He's been showing up on the channel, but Frightening Truth said something that to me that struck a nerve or struck a chord. OU will win, but I think the secondary does get tested. They actually have to work this week because we haven't seen a lot from the secondary except for either picks or people coming downhill and blasting people. So that's a good point.
Let me ask you this. I have one last question for Chris, and this is the same question I would ask Ty if he was here about his team. Level of concern heading into SEC play, because you guys open with Tennessee.
I would say the level of concern is about a 5 or a 6 right now. I think for me it's still moderate. I'm the ultimate optimist about this team. I think that when you get your guys back, as far as some of the starters, I think that things will be better. And as we're going to continue to talk about, which I know Nick is trying to get to right now, but when we get to it, I think, like I've said all along, and this was before the season, before people started getting injured, but I'll say this right here. With this OU schedule, I take it 3 games at a time because the schedule on paper is hard as hell, but some of these teams soft as doo-doo. So I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. My only thing about the OU team, and I've said this plenty of times on previous podcasts, is Jackson Arnold ready? Right. And I, Chris is, he's heard me say this plenty of times. I like Jackson Arnold. I loved him in high school. I just think Jackson Arnold was one of those guys that was going to need a couple years of seasoning before he gets into the game, and so I think Jackson Arnold next year would have been, first time starting, like real starting after sitting down for 2 years and kind of just absorbing the system. I think he'd be lights out. I just hate to see if a kid gets forced in too early. And we see with other SEC teams like Nico and what Nico's doing as a true sophomore and how he's coming out, he's coming out blazing. And it just shows that some guys are more ready for college ball, immediately, and some aren't.
Yeah, but let him actually have his ones too, like Nico. I think then you got to realize that if Tennessee was in this position, you probably be saying the same thing about them too.
But then the only thing that screams of is the lack of competitive depth. That's what that screams of, because we see other teams when they lose guys. I mean, hell, Alabama starting a true freshman who's 17 years old. If he goes out, there's still people behind him that can do the damn job.
I'm not saying that we don't have our guys, but I'm saying I think it's still a bit unfair that you're saying, hey, him with all his starters that are healthy. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you can't help the injury bug. You lose like your star guys who went out there and had all their production. You can still come in there and win games, which we're talking like this team is 1-1 right now.
No,
we're just talking about performance wise, it didn't look good. Team is still 2-0. Problem is that you just got to give him a chance. Let's judge this kid whenever he's under similar circumstances as these other kids who are going to have this help. That's just my thing, and that's how I've been.
Yeah, but some of it is just and you pointed it out, Chris. Some of it is just raw decision making.
Yeah,
has nothing to do with personnel, right? Like hit the check down, move the chains. Why are you throwing it? Like there's some certain things where it's just like I see Nico doing the common sense stuff,
yeah,
and I see Jackson Arnold trying to show it off, right? Yeah. Like some of the stuff is just like maturity too.
Yeah, that's so the extra year.
I think too. Yeah, and I think too, like Nina, you pointed out, they're coming from a historic quarterback class. That's the other thing. I think if Jackson Arnold was like in the 2022 class with Cade Klubnik, right? Then you're like, hey, he's better than everybody else, right? Like,
Yeah.
but because that 2023 class, like, it's highly competitive right now. Like, Dante Moore's already transferred, Rashada's already transferred. Like, all these guys have been moving all over the place. But then Nico's already looking like a first round pick and all that. I mean, yeah, there's some
And Rick,
pressure
they came
there,
out the same
to keep up
time.
with your peers.
The story is still going to unfold, baby. They came out the same time. They same class.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I
Like,
was telling Nick that. But yeah,
No.
good.
I mean, but I think
gotcha.
but I think that's what Steven was kind of getting at too. Is you see how one looks and how the other one looks, and it's two different quarterbacks. It's two different.
All I'll say is right here, we got 10 games to play in this season, baby. Let's not talk about all of that when we only have.
That's true. That's true. I mean, but all we can talk about is the first two games, and it has been a little lackluster from a few teams. And we'll talk about Alabama here next against USF. 2 years in a row against USF. This game was 14-13 going into the fourth quarter. I know they had some penalties that didn't go in Bama's way. However, it is South Florida that went 6-6 last year, and it's a team that's probably on the same path this year to go 6-6, maybe a little bit better this year, maybe 7-5. Alabama has too much talent on that team to even have this game be close. My wife was watching this game. She's from Alabama, and she had to stop watching it because she was like, "What the hell is going on?" Right, and so. You guys know how I feel about Milroe. I think Milroe, if everything clicks in this offense, I think he's the Heisman Trophy winner this year because I just think he's that kind of special of a talent. But Milroe's not making my picks look good this year so far after game 2. But fellas, tell me what you think about this Bama game against South Florida. And is this something that should be concerning for Alabama, or is just them going through the motions like last year?
I think it's a little concerning when you just 2 years in a row you've messed around with South Florida, but now you had Milroe and you're at home, right? And Nick Saban's name, they had the whole Nick Saban thing that night, and y'all struggling, right? And not just struggling, but like goofy stuff, fumbles, turnover, like everything that could go, fumbled snaps, like just all sorts of craziness happening in the game. I want to say this, though. Todd Orlando, congrats. You coached your ass off that game. You were throwing 2 years in a row. You've confused Bama quarterbacks and had them looking all sorts of way. I want to hear from my boy Jance in the chat, too, and get Jance's 2 cents on this because I know he has some concerns. But I want to address 2 things. Milroe, number one, I think he's going to be fine in the long run. He seems like a guy that just gets better as the season goes on. Mm-hmm. But one of the concerns I personally had with him moving with Kalen DeBoer is, just the natural progression of passing mechanics and being refined with his pocket awareness. The same thing that we've talked about where Quinn has just grown leaps and bounds with how he handles the pocket. Milroe is still, just he runs himself into sacks or contact or won't necessarily make the proper read, quickly and just keep things moving. And he's not as dangerous as he should be with that type of athleticism. I think he'll get there. They have the weapons. I think they have better weapons. Ryan Williams and all those guys that went off at the end of the game. But the last thing I'll say is this, and Chris, USF, the game is what, 21-13, 6 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
And you kick a field goal at the 5-yard line on 4th and goal. There's 6 minutes left. You kick a field goal.
Yeah, you got to go big.
I was like, oh my God.
You got to go for broke.
You got to go for broke. If you don't get it, they're at the 5. They're backed up anyway. If you don't get it, you need a touchdown. You kick these people are not able to do math. You still need a touchdown. And I didn't get it. That's where they lost me, bro.
Yeah, that makes you wonder because Alabama was having problems handling the ball all night. They had ball security issues. I'll say this right here. I think that Milroe is more talented than Gosh, Penix last year, I still do. I think he's more talented. I think he can make all the throws and do all the rest of that stuff. I think the offense, to me, what I was excited about coming into the season is that they were going to simplify the offense. So for Milrow, I think there's been some miscues, but there have been some moments where you're like, man, like they look elite. They can run the ball. They can do different things like that. But some of the fumbles and some of the turnovers they had that night were just really uncharacteristic. It was hard really flipping back between that game and OU. I was like, they're playing the same exact game and they're playing with fire. One team just kind of woke up. One sleeping giant woke up late in the fourth quarter and said, "All right, cool. We calling game on this by two tutties, right?" Mm-hmm. But defensively, they still look to part to some degree. I don't think the level of intensity is still there that they had obviously under Saban, but I think the talent is still there and it shows up. They travel and it shows. But to me, it seems like regardless of the coach, just that play style when they play against a team like USF. Or Tennessee, right? It just seems like that scheme gives them problems. Like no matter how good their personnel is, it just seems like that gives them problems. So that's something that we gotta definitely be on the lookout for. But I mean, I think Bama will be okay. Second game of the season, I think that it definitely was uncharacteristic. I think I wouldn't necessarily put USF on the schedule. But I'm just gonna say this right here. Y'all want to talk about Tulane and his comments and all the rest of this stuff. Wisconsin is going to be a good ass. That should be a good ass game early. If they don't go down there and put them away early, that's going to be a good ass game because I just think I'm not. Don't trust me. I'm not the biggest Tyler Van Dyke fan. I still don't know how he didn't work out with.
I don't trust him either. He's going to turn that rock over.
That's the only thing that scares me because. I don't know, but I think Luke Fickell's going to call a really good game. But in Madison, in early morning, it's going to be interesting. But I think they'll get it done.
Yeah, I think Bama's going to win this kind of game, and I say this because it's going to be more of a mano-a-mano game, and I think Bama just like they'll have the athletes just to beat them. So just like Jen said, man, South Florida blitzed every play like crazy, right? They just threw people, spied Miro, and just said Miro's not going to beat me. He's not going to beat me one-on-one. He's not going to scramble all over the place and beat me. But I think this game, it's a game of matchups, right? So I just got a feeling that it's probably going to line up to where, Bama's going to line up against, them. And it's going to, I won't say it won't be an easier game, but it'll be a game that is going to match up better for Bama against Wisconsin. I got Bama winning that game. So should be interesting. So. What's up with Stevens? He's popping in
down that Texas Public Library. I heard it. Steven, come back in here. Texas fans, while y'all worried about OU, let me ask y'all this question, David Bum Burner, whatever.
Don't we talk about Brown Burner like that?
I heard that y'all ain't got water. Y'all running out of water in that state. Don't come to Oklahoma looking for water, baby. We ain't gonna give y'all none. We gonna pee on that side of the Red River and laugh at y'all and did pick up some water and go home. Don't come on this side, baby.
Boy, man. Hey, look, man, you crazy. But look, man, Bama is I think Bama's gonna get better throughout the season. They always do. You know what I'm saying? And so just like any other season, they had a bad season last year. Maybe this was a game of jitters. They had Saban back in the stadium, maybe trying to impress the old man while he's there. That was the guy that brought him there. Ain't no telling, man. It's it just is what it is. There's something with you. Hey, USF has something on Alabama. We've seen it 2 years in a row. They got some juju on them. I'm like, Chris, don't schedule them no more than the next 15 years. Don't do it. But talking about Bama, I want to get to the next section. We're going to, call this Chris's infamous title, Dogs versus Bums, right?
Oh, yeah.
And let's talk about teams that we thought were bums in the SEC this week and teams that we thought were dogs in the SEC this week. I want to start this off, okay? My bum team, Arkansas. You're my bum team, okay?
Look. Get them.
Look, man. I picked on Bleacher Report that Oklahoma State was going to beat y'all, right? I did. I picked that. However, like the game was right there for you to take. It was right there. And you gave it up. You gave it up like old girl did on Uncle Shay Shay's video today, man. You just gave it up, man. You gave it up. When you put your head in that pillow, just let you know I gave it all I had. You gave it up, man. Come on, man. Arkansas, man. You gave it up. So you had a chance to win that game. I was ready to eat crow. I was ready to eat crow that game because I like Arkansas. You know what I'm saying? I do. I like them as a team. I want to see their quarterback do well this year, except when he plays Texas. I like them. But I did have Oklahoma State winning this game because I do not trust Sam Pittman. But
I just want to make this comment. I had
Yeah.
Arkansas winning that game. Arkansas should have won that game by like 2 or 3 touchdowns. The Fumaruski hit them yet again. If I'm gonna pick a bomb, I'm gonna pick a bomb. Like, obviously, a part of me wants to pick Auburn, but I gotta pick Kentucky. What was
Steven
that?
was talking about that earlier in the chat. Yeah.
What was that? And before we get off this pod, we got to show some love to South Carolina, who has game day coming there to them for whatever reason they are. It must be a terrible week 3, but regardless, bruh, like what this is what gets you sometimes. And Steven, be quiet. This is what gets you sometimes about Lincoln Riley. This dude picked Vandergriff over Caleb. Got it to the point where Caleb said, regardless if you take him, I'm coming there. Even if you don't give me a scholarship, I'll walk on and beat this kid out. This is sometimes it does make you wonder, like, Lincoln, what the hell are you seeing in this kid? Because this makes no sense. I'm sorry. I'm being critical. But Kentucky went out there against South Carolina, who is still trying to find whatever they're going to be outside of that defensive line, because Dylan Stewart is him, right? But I mean, you only scored 6 points. It was a home game. I don't know, man. That was surprising simply because I think we all believe that Mark Stoops is one of the better coaches in the SEC and in the nation. And that was just surprising.
One of the better coaches in the nation.
I do. I think he's one. I think he's a really good coach. I think
Mark Stoops is one of the better coaches in the nation.
They are a consistent team. You consistently know what they are.
If he was one of the better coaches in the nation, then he wouldn't consistently be at Kentucky. He would be somewhere else coaching, okay?
He was going to be at A&M until A&M went and did the A&M thing. And they said, hey, nah, we don't want him. We want to get Elko. Okay, practically the same coach.
Like I said, if he was one of the best coaches in the nation, he wouldn't consistently be at the University of Kentucky.
All right.
I will say he's a good my shocking thing with, Kentucky, man, look, 17 passes for the entire game. Like, your starting quarterback is 3 for 10. Yeah, I get it. You ran the ball 46 times for only 139 yards. Like, what the hell is going on over there, man? Like, that offense screams of just pink puke. It's just, come on, man. 6 out of 17 from the quarterbacks, from both quarterbacks. 3 out of 10 for Brock. Gavin Wimsatt, 3 out of 7. The running game was non-existent. I mean, it was just, I had higher hopes for Kentucky. Yeah, so they are a bum team. I will give you that, Chris. Third bum's got to be Auburn, Chris. Go ahead and lay it into Auburn, dog. I know you want to give it to Auburn.
Steven, when you come back on here, because I know you're trying to get back in here, you're probably listening. Steven, say it with me, okay? Everybody say it with me. Peyton Thorne, B-U-M, bum, okay? Doesn't deserve to be on the film. What are we doing? Robbie Ashford, where are you at? Oh, you're not on the team because y'all chose Peyton Thorne. Get the kid out of there. He can't do it. Cal came out there with a guy who transferred from the FCS and made him look like Thurman Thomas out there. I mean, this dude was all over the field. The dude was, I mean, all I know is this right here is that I expect more from them. I'm not necessarily sure the extent of Coleman's injury, but if it's anything that lingers, that could be big issues for them too. Defensively, you see the want to, you see the effort from a bunch of guys out there, but you just don't see the execution from the others, right? And it's going to take 11 guys to really to do their jobs to get things done. So that was a bad game. Now you have Freeze talking about running the ball more and being more basic on offense or whatnot, which is not anything that he wants to do. So losing to Cal, which they lost to Cal last year, right?
Yeah, they lost to Cal like 14-7 last year or something like that.
Of Texas back with Sam Ehlinger losing to Maryland twice in a row. But I digress. So
Peyton Thorne ain't gonna be in nobody's NFL roster, man. We didn't have no talent in that team. You know that. You know we didn't have no talent in that team. You want to talk about no talent?
I just say. I shouldn't
say no talent. No.
Hugh Freeze or Freaky Freeze, whatever Ty calls you, do better, be better. Because I know that you're better. All right, that's really all I got to say about that.
Yeah, man, Auburn bums. Look, man, this is the second year in a row against Cal. Come on, bro. Like Hugh Freeze, I literally talk you up for the past couple of years, man. Like Chris will tell you, I'm like Auburn is one of those teams that I believe is going to be a good team in the near future because I believe in Hugh Freeze, right? No matter what he's done in his past, I believe in him. Chris will tell you, I've been saying this for 2-3 years now.
Sure.
You are not making the case for me to make you look good any better, right? So Auburn gets the bum award too now.
And hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
And you know what, Peyton Thorne? You make Steven look bad because Steven usually throws a good bone out there in the yard, but he said that you were going to be decent or at least good enough to win games for Auburn. Now look at him. He looks.
That was last year. I was never in on Peyton Thorne this year. That was last year, coming from Michigan State. I just want to make that clarification. I do not want to be associated to that man. Absolutely not.
Absolutely
that
not.
Is nasty business right there. No, to Auburn. Auburn's a bum though. I mean, if Ty was on here, Ty has been the resident Hugh Freeze hater.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes I think he goes a little overboard with it. But was he justified?
Yes, very.
Very much justified. Ty was, because this is in year one. I told you guys, when you lose to New Mexico State by getting skunked,
dude, I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, Steven.
Bro, Cal, bro.
I know, man.
And Jordan Hare.
2 in a row, man. And then, Kristen had to bring
gross.
Chris said it reminded him of Texas when like Maryland got us 2 in a row. I don't want to hear about that, Chris. No more. Right?
I was just
man, that brought back bad memories.
Chris, it's worse. Chris, it's worse. I'm gonna tell you why. At least Maryland. Look, especially being from the area, like Maryland at least has kids that are gonna go. They always have kids that go to the league. Like there's players on that team, bro. Cal, come on. It's not the same. It's not the same. That's egregious. At least Maryland will have Ohio State and Penn State and them sweat until the fourth quarter until they respectfully lose by 14 or 17 points.
Like
but they'll hang in there.
Yeah.
But like Cal? Like, what conference is Cal in? Are they in the ACC,
bro?
Oh, they're in the ACC now?
They're in the ACC, bro.
I
was all wrong about that conference. I was thinking, okay, well, I'm not going to pick Florida State because DJU and Norvell is not a match made in heaven.
No,
I said Clemson.
Auburn cost people money this weekend.
That's
Chris.
what I'm saying.
A lot of people.
That's what I'm saying.
I bet on them. I had Auburn covering like an idiot.
It is what it is, man. But yeah, they are a bum.
Screw those guys, man. I'm never betting on them again.
Oh man. All right, man. So $5 holler, man. You know what I'm saying? From Michael Schwer. He goes, how pissed would the other SEC schools be if Texas comes in first year and runs the table? A&M will quit to another conference. I think A&M will try to go to the Big Ten immediately.
Speaking of that, I'm not necessarily sure what other topics you had, but if we can we could talk about like 2 games of the week this week in
Yeah,
the SEC, which
yeah.
I honestly I think that LSU game and South Carolina game, go Cox. I think that should be that should be a I think that should be in there.
What's the
But
over under on that game? Out of
let me
curiosity,
Hold
let me
on.
see
Let
the
me
post.
which one? The SEC LSU game.
Yeah,
the LSU
Let me
SC
see.
game.
The spread is LSU -7, 49.5.
What's the over under?
49.5.
Interesting.
-7 LSU.
LSU
So-
still
allegedly
was
the
letting
best
Nichols.
offensive line in the SEC against arguably the
Dude.
best defensive player in the SEC through 2 weeks.
Dude, LSU, think about this for a minute, man. I want you guys to think about this. Nicholls State, yeah, they scored 21 points on LSU, right? Now, I
When
get
were
it,
those 21 points? Because some people
7
say,
each quarter. 7 each
yeah,
quarter.
like they were
7 for the
scoring.
first 3 quarters. It was 14-23 at halftime.
Yeah,
okay?
those weren't
That's all I gotta
empty
say.
calorie points.
It's 14-23 at halftime. Okay, so I think Chris might be onto something with this one. Chris, yeah, South Carolina LSU might be a barn burner. Okay,
It may be it may be a 3-and-out fest. It may be a bum fight. You may have to throw the spoon out there and see who's gonna try to cut the other person, man. I'm telling you.
I hate to say that, but yeah, man. I think that's gonna be a good game. Chris, look, man. I think OU versus Tulane is going to be an interesting game. I do. I don't want to make it
I
sound
think it'll
bad.
be interesting for maybe the first couple of series, but I think that one gets out of hand. I'm not gonna say
No.
66-7 like somebody said, but I
No.
do think that we cover the spread.
I mean, I thought y'all were going to beat the shit out of Houston.
I did too. That's why I think this game is going to go deep into the third quarter. I think OU pulls out in the fourth quarter. Pause. But I do think this goes deep into the third quarter.
I think we go today, and I think we get the job done early, and then we cut it off. Just letting you know.
I got it going deep into the third quarter. OU pulls away in the fourth.
Go ahead.
And I got OU. Let me see. Over under is 47.5. OU, the spread is 13.5 for OU. Ooh.
I'm taking the spread.
That's gonna be interesting. I don't know about that one. Honestly, all these games are pretty damn good. BC versus Missouri might be entertaining. BC might be entertaining.
Ty wants to pick BC. He's been on the BC's going to upset
You
Mizzou.
know, I don't know if they're going to upset them, but I think the game's going to be interesting. But the next game is going to be a bum fest, and it's Texas A&M in Florida. These are
That's
two
the game
bums.
that I'm going to tell you now. I don't think that's going to be a bum fest, right?
No, it's two bums playing each other, so it is a bum fest, but it's going to be a good game.
Lagway changes the game, man.
I said this last week. Do you want Lagway to come in and play with that horrible offense? These are teams that could screw up a true freshman's his whole mental way of thinking in football for his entire career if you put him in a situation like this and he's not ready and he's getting his ass beat every play. This could really damper down all expectations for him. And as well, this could beat on a kid's confidence, man. I'm just being honest.
I get it, baby, but sometimes, hey, you gotta go play. That's what we paying you all this money for. We need him. He needs to be out there. He needs to get seasoned. It's time.
I don't know about the seasoning on this one.
NIL changed the whole game, baby. We talked about the 12-game playoff last week, changing the landscape. This week,
Riley, it is at the Swamp.
Make his money.
This game is at the Swamp.
No, I mean, okay, I get it, but look here.
Thank you for the super chat, Matthew Miller. What's up, man?
Matthew Miller says, I think OU turns it around. Jackson Arnold shaves the pedo stash. So I should have read that first in my head before.
He about to get you demonetized, man.
You gotta
get that out of here. Look here, man. Okay,
Nino reads anything on the teleprompter.
Exactly. Move left, center right.
Texas A&M in Florida, man. That's gonna be a pretty damn good game, man. Because I like A&M's defense. I do. They just don't have an offense. Their defense is legit.
Lagway threw for what 500 yards last week against the Methodist Sanford College.
Yes.
How many?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, he threw for 456.
He looked amazing.
It's Sanford, man.
I know. I know. But sometimes a guy like that gives you juice. Sometimes it just wakes the team up, and no disrespect to Graham Mertz, but when you get blitzkrieg by Miami and Cam Ward,
that's true.
Sometimes they're looking around like, where's our Cam Ward?
Right? That's true. Lagway, hey, look, man, I'm going to watch the game because, I love football. And of course, I like to just watch good football.
Two big schools, too.
Yeah. Two big brands, Nino equals Romberg. Shut up, man.
Exactly. That's exactly what we were talking about. He got the joke.
I'm done. I'm getting cooked right now.
We're sleeping on BC. We're sleeping on BC Mizzou though, because BC
it's gonna be a good game.
They tore up FSU. Now I don't know how much,
but FSU's garbage.
But that little, but what's his name? Thomas Castellanos or whatever his name is, the quarterback.
I'm surprised he stayed. I am so surprised he stayed.
That guy's spicy, man.
He is, man.
That guy.
That's a little running quarterback, right?
I don't want to see that guy.
Who is comparing him to Kyler Murray? It's like, shut up. Have you ever seen Kyler Murray play?
I mean, he's like
come on, man. We talking about Kyler Murray.
If you want to say poor man's version,
give me a poor
man's he's like
version.
A shallow Hal Kyler Murray type, yo.
Yeah,
it's like,
Kyler Murray. If you have a certain glasses on,
here, Kyler Murray with the shag. You know what I'm saying? With the Dallas shag. You know what I mean?
That guy's good though.
He is good. No. I look. I'm not hating on the kid. He can ball, man. I'm not, but Kyler Murray is come on, man. I'm not an OU fan, but look, that's a Heisman Trophy winner, first pick of the draft, probably best.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
In 2 sports.
Yeah. First round draft pick in 2 sports and arguably the greatest Texas high school quarterback of all time. You know what I'm saying? So arguably, you know what I'm saying? Because they had this guy named V.Y.
He's the best high school football player I've ever seen in my life. In person.
In person.
And I saw him.
In person.
And I saw him in person. In person. And I saw him. I saw Myles Garrett too. And he was cold too.
Yeah, Myles Garrett was a beast, man. But yeah, so that's gonna be
that BC QB is nice though.
He is
but
nice.
Missouri also though, knowing their schedule and kind of where they sit right now, they're number 6 in the country. They look good. They're covering. This could be a game where Eli and them are like drinking. Them are like, look, it could be, but like Missouri's favored by 16.
Okay, so this is what this is the beauty about college football, right? We looked at Missouri's schedule at the beginning of the season and said this is an easy schedule. Like they should run through this schedule, and they really got 1 or 2
coming off an 11-2 season.
Yeah. BC is not a walkover like we thought they were going to be. Vanderbilt's not a walkover like we thought they were going to be, folks. A&M's defense is still A&M's defense, right?
The only thing that scares me about them at this game for BC is that it's at Mizzou, and they play really good at home.
They do play really good at home, and they're fast. They're so fast at home too, man. So
Missouri has not allowed a point yet this year, by the way.
Yeah, you're right. They are up right now, 89 to zip right now. But it was against Murray State and Buffalo. Okay, well, we're going, shout out to Buffalo. I got family in Buffalo on the east side. It's all good. But yeah, man, Boston College is going to be a very, very interesting game. I still got Missouri winning this game. I like.
I think this is the game that Luther Burden comes alive. He's been chilling the first couple games.
This man said Walmart Kyler Murray. JB, you off the chain for this one, dog. Come on, man. This man said a shallow Hal. Come on, bruh. Steven is on one today. He did say shallow Hal. You're crazy. Look, man. This is Jay. Mizzou ain't trash, Jay. Jay's the homie, man.
Mizzou is not trash. Buffalo. Come on. At this point, they won the Cotton Bowl last year. They're also 14-2 in the last 16 games. Come on.
Yeah.
Hey,
So
if you
At some
buying
point,
drink
at some
stock,
point, you gotta.
don't do that. Don't do that.
what do you say?
What'd you say?
If you buying that Drinkwood stock, don't do that. Don't do that.
It's all
I know.
good.
That's
They haven't played
that's not them
anybody.
GameStop stocks.
It's
Hey,
still-
Gents. Hey, Gents. How's your Buffaloes doing, buddy?
38 to zip, baby. Nah, so all right, man. Those are the games, man. It's like 9:00, bro. We got a
Yeah.
good hour in, man. Get a little mental gymnastics up here on some football, man. Hey, folks, tune in to all our shows, man. Nino's Corner Sports. We got Steven with the FP Fanatic Perspectives. I'm not going to even say it. I'll go ahead and say it. Chris with a K with the Down Podcast. Ty with the Roundtable Sports and Jay from Unfair Sports, man. Tune in. Also tune in, folks. Fridays, Bleacher Report. We do the College Football Roundtable. Jay's doing Locked On Sooners. Ty's doing, what is he doing? Bama. What else? Steven, the Bama something. I forgot.
Bama. Yeah, Bama Standard.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing that. Look, you can catch us everywhere, man.
Everybody's and you can catch us over in the Nightcap live stream on Shannon Sharp's channel right now, because that's where I'm headed. Because I need to hear what this brother has to say. So I'll see y'all over there.
I'll see
You're
y'all.
absolutely right. It's 8:00 over here. Yeah, I'm about to head over to Nightcap.
I said,
man, y'all
get my popcorn ready.
Y'all are stupid, man. Get your popcorn ready, like the boy T.O. said. T.O. did say that the voice sound familiar. T.O. said the voice sound familiar. Get your popcorn ready. Get your popcorn ready, man. They over here passing you. I'm gonna stop. Let me get up out of here. We out, man. Deuces.